Okay, so we are right at the end of our West chapter here. We are heading towards Wounded Knee, and it is December 1890. So perfect timing. It's also December right now. So on December 28th, 1890, the 7th Cavalry, which was sent out to intercept the Satanka tribe heading to Pine Ridge, is meeting up with the Miniconjou camp near Wounded Knee Creek, which is about 20 miles northeast of the Pine Ridge Agency. And Chief Bigfoot sees the scout and he tells them, I will surrender without resistance. Now remember, the 7th Cavalry has orders to intercept Chief Bigfoot and the Satanka. They have orders to confiscate all his weapons and to escort all of them to the military prison. Those are their orders. And Chief Bigfoot says he will go willingly. He's not going to resist, as you can imagine. On December 29th, they begin the process of confiscating weapons. And one of the members of the 7th Cavalry, whose last name is Forsyth, herds the Miniconjou into a nearby clearing, which is never a good sign. If somebody herds you in a group into a clearing, find your way out very quickly, because throughout history, being herded into a clearing as a group almost always, to my knowledge, ends in death. So if you ever find yourself in that situation, you might as well run for it. Life tip. So they are herded into a nearby clearing, and Forsyth has the men form a council circle, and then they surround that circle with the cavalry unit. And he also positions 4 Hotchkiss guns on a nearby hilltop. And I know you probably don't know what a Hotchkiss gun is, and the best way I can describe it is kind of like an artillery cannon. It's bigger than it's like a field gun, a field artillery gun. Look it up. I don't have a picture of it. I'm so sorry. And also, military weapons are not my forte. Telling stories is my forte. Maybe I should have been a storyteller instead of a teacher. I don't know, but here we are. So Bigfoot surrenders some of his weapons, just like he's been told to do. And the cavalry decides that's not enough. They're going to go search deeper and to find the remaining weapons of the tribe. And this intrusive search angers the entire group, not just Bigfoot, but the entire group of the Miniconjou. And so one of the other members of the tribe, whose name is Sixth Street, begins to ghost dance. And he tries to get the others to join him, claiming that if they're ghost dancing when they are fired upon, the bullets will not touch them because they will be wearing their sacred ghost shirts. And the soldiers get more and more tensed as the dancing grows. And one of the Miniconjou, who is also deaf, named Black Coyote, during this movement, refuses to give up his gun. I'm sure you can imagine where this is going. Now, Black Coyote's weapon that he has not surrendered goes off while they're ghost dancing. And in response, the 7th Cavalry opens fire. Now, most of them are defenseless because their weapons have already been seized by the 7th Cavalry. So yes, Black Coyote has his, but for the most part, these are defenseless men, women, and children. This is not just men. These are not armed soldiers. These are men, women, and children who have been unarmed already. And the 7th Cavalry opens fire when they hear a gunshot. And you could blame nerves or whatever, but the story continues, obviously, as all stories do. And they didn't just stop once they realized, because nerves set off 1 or 2, but it does not set off a continued volley. And as the women and children attempt to flee to a nearby ravine because they're trying to save themselves, the Hotchkiss guns that are positioned on the hilltop around them are firing down upon them. Now, again, I refer to these as like field artillery guns, cannons, stuff like that. These guns fire field artillery shells, and an artillery shell is huge. It's not a weapon you use against unarmed civilians. It's usually used to make craters or to blow up a military grade vehicle. It's certainly not used against people. And so these Hotchkiss guns are firing 50 shells per minute down into the ravine where the defenseless men, women, and children are trying to escape the fire that is being rained upon them by the 7th Cavalry. And anybody who wasn't caught in that open fire or who managed to make it further out are then shot down by the 7th Cavalry themselves. After this, what they call a battle, but we've now deemed a massacre, Forsyth orders 51 wounded Miniconjou to the Pine Ridge Agency, and the Lakota who have received word of this flee in horror. Some of them do go after the 7th Cavalry in retaliation, which prompts Miles to send more troops out. And so on January 2nd, 1891, the Lakota go to Wounded Knee to rescue some of the survivors from the snow. Okay, not only are they being open fired upon defenseless, but it's snowing. And the following day, the U.S. Army buries 146 dead Miniconjou in a mass grave where the Hotchkiss gun had been placed a couple days ago to kill them all. The estimate at the end of this is that some 250 to 300 Miniconjou were killed, almost half of whom were women and children. And the 25-ish U.S. soldiers that died most likely died from friendly fire. And so the Bureau of Indian Affairs tries to portray this event as a battle. I just said that, right? They call this the Battle of Wounded Knee. But if you look at the investigations, the eyewitness reports, everybody proves that this was not a battle. This was a massacre. And it was most likely committed not because they were afraid of the ghost dancers and all of that stuff, but because the 7th Cavalry wanted to avenge their original loss at Little Bighorn years earlier. And so Forsyth is eventually put on trial for this, but he's found innocent. And then, if that wasn't bad enough, the United States government awards 20 of the cavalrymen the Congressional Medal of Honor. So in 2019, a bill was introduced to rescind those awards. And I actually don't have a follow-up on whether or not it was, but it is an insane movement to award 20 men who massacred a group of defenseless people a Congressional Medal of Honor. And yes, that is an opinion, but you know what? It is what it is. So, Wounded Knee is a massacre. It is the last major armed conflict between the Plains tribes and the United States. And I really don't even like calling it an armed conflict because it's an attack. They're not armed. And I do have one final picture of Bigfoot here, Chief Bigfoot, wounded in the snow. So again, if we weren't clear about the actual defenselessness of this and the massacre status of this picture should do more than enough to show you the inequality of it all. And so this is the end of our Plains tribes. This is the end of our westward expansion because the U.S. has manifested their destiny, and all we had to do it was take out all the other people that already lived there. The Mexicans, the tribes, everybody, because now it belongs to us. And so we're going to wrap this up with a book recommendation. If you want to learn anything more about any of this, and I highly suggest you do because it's very interesting and very fascinating and very horrific, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee is probably one of the best books I have ever read about the entire 1800s process. It goes through all of this stuff. There's pictures in here. Obviously, you've just seen a couple of them. I think there is a movie about this, and I'm not entirely sure how the tribal people who are represented in this, I'm not entirely sure that they are a huge fan of this book, but as far as I know, it's pretty well recommended. So I highly recommend reading it, get it on audiobook. It's everywhere, and it is worth the read and worth the time.